very much, Lisa. It's always a little bit awkward to hear my introduction from somebody else, but nevertheless, here we are. Hope everybody is doing okay on a Friday afternoon. Everybody is staying safe, I hope. Right, so let me just go over there and quickly share my screen. This one. In a 1 hour session with so many different people from very many different businesses, it's generally quite difficult to go deep into any one category of business or any one category of or information or advice, which is the same reason why I will love it if, let's say, that sometime next week we can speak in person. Well, anyway, let's just start today off with a very quick poll. In this time of COVID, I just want to go over there and try to understand from everybody here, what is your biggest worry when it comes to the organization? Is it cash flow? Is it retaining your good employees? Is it sales? Or is it the question of, is it possible for your company to actually adapt and change fast enough to address the economy in Cambodia post-COVID? So if we can put up a really quick poll for everybody right now, maybe why don't you all respond to that, and then after we can kind of like start taking it from there. Okay, right. Just the pause on. Okay. Well, thanks. There are a few more people coming in. Anyway, yes, there should be a poll. By the way, I just want to check. I know that generally speaking, Singaporeans speak very fast. Is this speed okay for everyone? If it's a little too fast, you can always send me a message and say that I'm going too fast. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Thanks. Okay, so apparently the polls are not working. Oh, okay, if that's the case, let's try this. If let's say that cash flow is number 1, employee is number 2, sales is 3, and the ability to change is number 4, can you just very quickly just go 1, 2, 3, or 4? Type one of this into the chat box, and then after I can take a look at what is your biggest, what's your company's biggest worry at this point in time. 2, 2, 3, 1, 4, sales 3, 4. Okay. 3 and 4, 1. Okay, 3. All right, that's a good number of 3s, which is sales. Okay, fantastic. Let's see, 4. It's a good number of 4s. It's a good number of 1s. Okay, great. So, when it comes to organizations, I guess when it comes to companies especially, sales is always a big thing. Cash flow is always a big problem. And especially now that the business environment has changed so much, then where do we go from here? Let's move on. Let's look at what has changed so far. Okay, let's just state a couple of facts really quickly. One, the Cambodian economy has changed dramatically. There are no more tourists, at least nobody who's unwilling to pay $3,000 at the airport, right? Nobody. The landscape has changed dramatically. It's mostly local markets now. There's a little bit less money flowing around. But I mean, that's just the way it is. Right? COVID has changed the Cambodian economy pretty dramatically. Competition is global. Okay. What do we mean by that? A lot of times when we start looking at the competition here in Cambodia, it is we try to go and compare ourselves to our competition, but just here in Cambodia, not to the rest of the world. But the fact of the matter is that the internet competition has always been global. It's just that it's more obvious now. Yeah. Okay. Next, your staff and your customers define what your business, what kind of value you should provide in your business, and it also defines whether or not you're able to deliver all of those things. Yeah. Okay. Now, in Mandarin, generally speaking, when it comes to somebody saying that there's a crisis, there's the two words that you will see is danger and opportunity. They're both together at the same time. Okay. When the Cambodian economy changes, some businesses thrive, and then after other businesses will just have to pivot really, really, really fast. There's a great pressure from customers, the people who will pay you money, okay, and stuff will basically have all the problems that you will have in your business will be exposed. In the past, maybe you are a monopoly, maybe you are a large company, maybe you got cash flows, maybe you have got investors that are willing to put a lot of money with you. So you can kind of hide all of these problems, sweep it under the rug, gloss over it, or pretend that it's not there because you don't have time to deal with it. Now that the economy has slowed down, some of us, the businesses have stopped for a little bit, all of these problems will come out. And when all of these problems come out, then this is the great thing about that, is that now we can go over there and actually fix the problems that may have been hidden before, but now it's not. Okay. When it comes to value, the value of a company, what it provides to its customers. Okay, we have to be very, very clear about what our company provides. Okay, sometimes it's not what you think it is. What do I mean? Well, about 5 years back, when I was speaking with a person who made his first $1 billion when he was 25 years old, he told me that there are 3 things, and there are only 3 things that people will pay money for, whether it is your customers or whether it's other companies. Okay, there are 3 reasons why customers pay any organization and pay any company. Reason number 1, that your company does something that other people cannot do. Okay, if your customers cannot do what your company does, then they are willing to pay you money for it. Okay, that's number 1. Now, what do I mean? Say, for example, I'm an artist, or say, for example, I'm a footballer, or I am a great actor. Nobody else can act like me. Nobody else can do the paintings that I paint. So people pay me a lot of money. People pay me a lot of money because I can do stuff that my competition can't do. Yeah, that's reason number 1. Reason number 2 is you do things that other people don't want to do. Okay, a lot of companies go over there and do things that other people don't want to do. Say, for example, the way you will go and hire a tuk-tuk at night for you to go out is because I don't want to drive. Can I drive? Yes. Do I want to drive? No. And because I don't want to drive, therefore I pay somebody else to do it for me. Do I want to go over there and clean? No. Therefore I go over there and get a cleaner. I pay the cleaner. So a lot of businesses fall into this category. It's not about the product that you have or the service that you have. It is about what value do you add to your customer's life. If you look at Grab, if you look at Niam24, so all of those delivery services, can we go out to dinner? Absolutely, we can go out to dinner. We don't go out to dinner because I don't want to go out to dinner. I don't want to do that. Fine, somebody else does it for me. When somebody else does it for me, I pay them. So that's the second kind of value. The third kind of value is that you take risk for people. If I'm willing to take risk for somebody else pays me. Insurance is based on that system. That is the only three reasons that the person told me that the only three reasons why people will pay you, and these are the only three reasons. Whether it is one, you are doing something else that other people cannot do. Two, you are doing something else that they don't want to do. Or three, that you are taking risk. Now the question is going to be, if you are looking at your organization right now, why are your customers paying you? Which one of these three reasons is the reason why your customer is paying you? If you can figure that out, and then after everything else will stem from that. Yeah? Now, you go over there and you start thinking about your company from that point of view, then after the way by which you choose to fix the problems inside your organizations starts to go over there and change. And in every company, in every organization, whether it is an NGO, whether it is a non-profit, whether it is an association, whether it is a private limited company, or whether it's one of those large conglomerates, it doesn't matter. Okay, there are 5 different aspects to a company. Okay, you can break down anything into these 5 aspects. There's marketing and sales, there's operations, there's human resource, there's admin and legal, and there's finance. There are 5 parts to every single organization. Marketing and sales, obviously that you know what that is. Operations is defined as the way by which you take raw materials and then after you turn it into a product or service by which your company sells. Human resource is related to everything, every human being inside of your organization. A lot of companies consider the people that work inside their company to be an expense. It is an investment and it is a resource if you know how to use it. If you are talking about finance, it's very simple: cash flow, profit and loss, how you price a product, and everything else comes into finance. Admin and legal is how you keep track of all of your processes. They all overlap each other in one way or another. The only thing is that usually if we look at any organization, you will be looking at one of these 5 different aspects. And then after, usually, if your company is not doing well, one of these 5 areas one or more of these 5 areas is going to be a problem. So now that you have the time, because COVID has slowed down your business, the question is going to be, which one of these 5 areas do you really want to fix, right? Which one of these 5 areas do you want to fix? So, moving on to I'm going to go over and try to do this whole thing again, but I want to know that if, let's say that right now, if you can, okay, if you really wanted to, which one of these 6 areas would you want to go over there and first address in your organization? Okay, do you want to look at value by which your company is providing to its customers? Do you want to look at operations? Do you want to look at finance? Do you want to look at sales and marketing? Do you want to look at human resources, or do you want to look at admin and legal? Which one of these 6 areas do you want to do you want to go over there and fix? Which one are the most urgent things for you? Can we try to go over and put up the poll again? Wait, hold on. Let's try that. Okay, I can't really see the results from here. Okay, sales and marketing is the largest. Great, thank you. Okay. Sales and marketing by far, great. Operations 2, creating value 3, fantastic. Okay, now just a thought about sales and marketing. Yeah, very often, if we are looking at sales and marketing, it is important to understand exactly it is that we are selling. Okay, let me give you an example. In the past, I grew up in the 70s and the 80s. Yeah, I'm an old man. And back in the day in Singapore, KFC was advertising on the television. It was still TV. There's no YouTube. Everybody watches TV. And in all of the KFC marketing, they marketed only one thing, and it is family experiences. So if it's somebody's birthday, they go to KFC to celebrate. If it's somebody is graduating, they go to KFC to celebrate. If not getting married, but you know, like if somebody is, if it's a significant event in your life, you go to KFC to celebrate. And the interesting thing is that all the way through when I was a kid, you know, it's not just about the fried chicken. Fried chicken is what they serve. No, it was a family experience. So basically every single time, if I scored really well in school and I told my mom I want a treat, if I was graduating, even if it's my birthday, you know, the only thing that I wanted to do is I wanted to go over to KFC and I wanted my friends and my family to be around. They are not selling fried chicken. Okay, that's not it. They are selling an experience. It is a family experience. So when it looked at something like that, then the question is going to be, when it comes to your organization, when you look at the value creation, you got to first understand what is it that you are selling. Once you have figured out what that is, then after you start moving on from there, and then after start discussing how are you going to communicate that to your customers. And if you get the value, and you kind of need a really, really strong value proposition. We can take a look at that in a little while. But thanks, good to know. First of all, okay, when you're talking about global competition, the internet basically, all companies are compared to international standards, not local standards. Never local standards. Somebody who is coming in and buying from you would have either watched YouTube, would have seen like how other businesses operate. And that means that we cannot go over there and just stay with whatever it is that we have here in Cambodia, right? Cambodia's market is small, but it is growing fast, and that's a great thing, okay? That means that there are way more opportunities. After COVID, there's going to be a lot of money that comes into Cambodia for growth. My only question is your company positioned to go over there and get some of those money? And then now the question is going to be, how do we down gear our companies for international business investment? It brings to mind one of the things. I was in Israel a few years back. And the interesting thing about entrepreneurs in Israel is that they never ever look at their local market. Almost never. Every single one of applications, every single one of their business, they are almost always gearing for international, for the international market and not just their own market. There are 8 million people in Israel, but almost never do they go over there and just aim for their local market. Their local market is a springboard to go and test their ideas, but they always aim for international, the international market. And maybe this is something that we kind of have to start looking at ourselves. Now, when we are talking about customers deciding what the value is, we mentioned this really quickly. This, you can do something that they cannot do. You either do something they don't want to do, or you take that risk. Now, the question is going to be, what makes you different from everybody else? What is that one or two things that you do really, really well that other people can't do as well as you? And then when it comes to customers, the third question is always going to be, how is your company now communicating that value? Okay, once you figure that out, that is your sales and marketing problem sorted out. Okay. Next thing, if you are looking at your customers deciding what the kind of value you're trying to go over there and sell, the next question is going to be, how are you going to deliver? If your staff is not up to speed, if your staff cannot, if you don't have a consistent way by which you go over and manage your staff, if your operations are not fantastic, okay, then you won't be able to deliver. Previously, when I'm working and when we are consulting and we are doing a lot of work in the last 4 years, when we do work with a lot of large organizations, they usually tell us this: we don't have time for deep level improvements. Let's just go over there and fix a little, let's put a band-aid, let's put a bandage around whatever the problem is at this point in time, and then after it stops there. Why? Because it's business as usual. We don't have time to improve. For the deep level improvement, we don't have time for higher level organizational change. Guess what? COVID, now you have the time. It is a time to go over there and re-look at how your business runs, and then the deep level problems, you go over there and fix it. Okay. Now, when it comes to managing stuff, and I'm pretty sure that a lot of, especially when it comes to organizations that are fairly large, that you start going over and thinking about how do you manage stuff. Well, there are 3 things that we found to be most important when it comes to managing your stuff. Okay. 1, are your values internally consistent? Do you go over there and say that I care about my company, or I care about people? And then after that, everybody in your organization goes home at 10 p.m. If your values are not internally consistent, then what will happen is the good stuff will always leave. You go over there and you face the problem of, once I go over there and train somebody, after the training, the person goes over and says, that's it, bye, I'm gone, because somebody else offering me more money. The funny thing is that when you go over there and look at how staff is motivated, 70%, even here in Cambodia, of staff leave not because they're not paid enough. 70% of staff leave because they don't like the environment by which they're working in. Okay? The next question that I have is, does your staff have clear examples of how those values apply to work? One of the largest One of the biggest things, buzzwords that I've heard over the last 2 years is innovation, 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 innovation. Okay. Management goes over and decides that innovation is a great thing. It is. Now my only problem is, what does innovation look like in your organization? Do they have clear examples of application of innovation at work so that they can look at it and say, okay, this is what we want, this is what is desired, and therefore this is what is being rewarded, and therefore this is what we're going to have to do. A very clear example of values at work is this, okay? No matter whether or not management says that 8:30 a.m. is the time to start work, but if your manager comes in at 9 o'clock or 10:30, I can guarantee you that none of your staff is coming in at 8:30, okay? Because at the end of the day, if you look at it, the staff will always take the cue from the managers. The managers will take the cue from senior management. The senior management will take their cue from the directors. If directors are not being consistent with the values, everything down the line is not going to happen. Which brings me to point 3. Is management actually demonstrating these values? If they are demonstrating these values, then things will change really, really quickly. If management doesn't demonstrate the values which are desired in an organization, guess what? It's not going to happen. No matter what it is that you say. If you have a child, you know this. It is what I say, it's what I do. And kids copy their parents and what they do, the same way that staff copies their managers and what they do. Yeah? If you want to take a really good, quick health check of your organization, it's very simple. Answer these 3 questions. Have you clearly and consistently demonstrated the value by which you provide to customers? Clearly is what your marketing and sales is, okay? And consistency is always very important. Now, if you can clearly and consistently demonstrate these values to your customers, they know exactly what they're going to get from you. Okay, 1. That's the question number 1. And if it is clear, can it be any clearer? If it's consistent, can it be any more consistent? Yeah. 3M, for example, has a 6 Sigma system where they go over there and start looking at error rates. Their error rates are at 3 to 6 parts, 3 to 6 errors per million interactions. 1 million interactions, 1 million products produced, and you have only 3 errors. That's the level of excellence by which you have to go over there and look at. This is the consistency by which we're looking about. Okay? Do you have an efficient system internally to ensure delivery? How are you ensuring delivery every single time, all of the time? And the third question is management demonstrating all these behaviors that are reflecting the company values? If management don't do it, nobody else would. Okay? Now, this very, very quickly rounds up. If you are looking at your organization, if you are looking to go and pivot your organization, not right now during COVID, and then after that, if you're looking to go over there and bring your company up to another level, if you can go and answer yes to all these 3 questions, then brilliant, fantastic. Right now, you are just waiting for the opportunities to come your way. If you are not, then the question will be, where can you improve? What are the areas and the dimensions by which you can go over there and start looking at and the places that you can fix? One of the things that is rather interesting is that I've seen a lot of organizations, especially when it comes to sales and marketing, that during COVID season, they shut down the entire sales and marketing. The first group of people to cut is sales and marketing, their budgets. And it's a very interesting point because isn't it the best time to go over there and actually improve your sales and marketing? Isn't it the best time to go over there and start having discussions with your customers communicating to your clients, because the entire field of communication is empty. If it is empty now, isn't it the best time to go over there and start communicating your value? Now, if you go over and start looking at that, and after you start looking at the way by which now business is starting to pick up, the ones that have consistently communicated during the last 2 months, April and May, when things are a little bit quiet, they are the ones that are getting a significant amount of business right now. The ones that are not are now playing catch up. Okay, think about that for a moment. Now, I think that I've pretty much said enough. Let's take a few questions from you guys. What are some of the questions that you want to go over and throw it up? You can go over there and put it up onto the Zoom chat, and then after we can, and we'll see whether or not we have time to answer all of the questions, yeah? Lisa?
Edmund, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. One of the questions that Sokmias asked when you were polling about the challenges, she had commented that she was looking for internal markets to supply her vegetables and fruit, but found it really difficult to put the products into the local market. And so I was just wondering, what would you suggest to her? How would she go about trying to deal with this challenge of finding an internal market or domestic local market to sell her products?
Okay. Well, first of all, I need to go over and check in with Somias and just ask how much fruits and vegetables can you supply? Is it, how many kilograms? Are you looking at one? Are you looking at the retail market, or are you looking at a wholesale market? Because if you're looking at a wholesale market, the strategies for communication and looking at the market is going to be very different from if you're looking at a retail. Yeah? If you're looking at the local market, for example, maybe it's about price. Then maybe it's another possibility is that, why don't you go, if you're looking at the retail market, I don't want to go to the market right now. Can you deliver your products to me directly? That's one possibility as well. And then I will go over and ask Somias as well, what is the difference between your fruits and vegetables and every other fruit and vegetables that's currently in the market?
That's great.
Yeah. So those will be the few questions that you need to ask yourself. And maybe it's not about your fruits and vegetables. If you are a farmer, then yes, it's about the quality of the fruits and vegetables. But on the other hand, if you're a wholesaler, okay, then your business is not fruits and vegetables. Your business is transport, because you're the man that brings the fruits and vegetables from the market over to the retail. Your job is transport. Your job is not fruits and vegetables. You're not a wholesaler, you're a transporter. So that now go over there, and now if you start looking at yourself as a transporter, then you start looking at what kind of value do I have. Am I faster than everybody else? Am I more consistent than everybody else? And then after, you start fixing your problem from there. So a lot of questions. I would dig a little bit further, but yeah, maybe if Somias ends up speaking with us later on in the week, Yeah.
Actually, that's just a reminder, everyone. We talked earlier, previously, that after this Q&A session, there will be a link. So if you would like to ask or spend more time talking one-on-one with Edmund, there's opportunity there just to click on the link after the Q&A. So we have another question from Annalise, who's talking about how to communicate her company value. It's a big challenge. What are some ways that you would recommend for her to explore to improve this?
Communicating your company values where? Internally to your staff or externally to the customers? That will be my first question.
Customer.
Okay, so to the customers. So if that's the case, then what is the value by which you provide? What is the business that you do, first of all? Okay, service, you know, then what kind of service? Okay, what is it that you do that they cannot do? What is the business by which you do that they cannot do? Garment manufacturing, fantastic. What would make you different from, say, the big garment factories which are out near the airport? Okay, so you have a small MOQ. Fantastic. Now, then after that, I will go over and then my next question will be, what kind of people do you want small MOQs? You know, what kind of people want small MOQs? That will be my first question. Yeah. And then after, if it's a small MOQ, then after, and then if you are talking about quality, if you're talking about small MOQs, what will be your minimum order? All of those things would be interesting for who? Is it small bar owners? Somebody who wants to go over and print for football teams? You know, maybe it's a kids baseball team or something along those lines, because that will be something that is more interesting for them because they only have 20 people. Okay, then my next question will be, how are you going in when you're communicating it? What are the avenues by which you have? Would you go over there and say, for example, sponsor a kids baseball match, for example, in a school? Because that's where your market is. How do you speak to parents? You know, because they want their kids to maybe wear a t-shirt that doesn't give them rashes, especially when they're working actively. So then after, I will start going into schools. I will start looking at how do I communicate with parents. I will start looking at, well, what's for parents, then what is the next value? The value is going to be making sure that my kid is wearing something that's good quality, if I can pay for it, right? So if it's a communication issue, then my question will be, are you looking at those areas and how are you speaking to your customers? Parents, small kid baseball teams, you know, sports teams, maybe even somebody who is willing, who's going over there and saying that, oh, this weekend all of my friends are going for a celebration of a wedding. You know, 1 week before the wedding, we're going to take the groom out. And if that's the case, I got 10 boys. Can I go over there and put like John's Stag Night on a t-shirt, you know, something like that? Is it possible to do that, and how fast would the turnaround be, you know? So that's something that you might want to start looking at. What else is there?
The next question is from Sovani Lam, and she runs a co-working space and event space industry, and now obviously having difficulties with sales to keep our customers and doing their events. And so just wanting to know, how should she tackle this challenge because of COVID-19?
Is the event space and the co-working space the same space? Is it? Because if it is an event space...
Different. She's saying it's a different service.
Ah, okay. So if it is a different space, then, well, my first question would be, okay, if I can be very, very, very honest, yeah, the challenge with Cambodia is that co-working spaces don't tend to survive very well over here. Because every space that has internet and a power plug is a co-working space. Okay? The third thing is that if, let's say that, I'm going to be super honest here, yeah? That if, let's say that cafes, coffee shops really know, if they really want to take business away from you, what they will do is go over there and say that 10 cents for one print. And then that's it. Co-working space, the value of co-working spaces is not there anymore. But ask yourself now this question: what is the value of your co-working space? Is it a space for people to be with different ideas to come over and allow themselves to kind of interact and come up with new ideas and to develop new ideas and new plans? If that is what a co-working space is, okay, it is somewhere where people can interact and throw ideas around. Now, if that's the case, the way by which you first of all pivot your co-working space is, it's not a co-working space anymore. It's a place where people sit down and throw ideas around. And that's the kind of events that you're going to hold. Okay? For people to go over and say like, okay, green ideas. I remember Farm to Table used to do something called green drinks, where people who are in the environmental, who are working in the environmental sector can come together and start throwing ideas around. You know, that's something by which they have done for quite a while, and it's fairly successful because it is getting people who are of like minds together, and then after that exploring what they can do together. You know, then you are an idea space. Then you are not a co-working space anymore. As far as it comes to events, then you need to start. That's another story altogether. Yeah, but let's go and look at. I hope that answers your question a little bit.
Okay, I'm not sure if there was a comment, but I don't really see if it's a question from Kim Lang Dong. You talked about an education sector for private owners, but I'm not sure what exactly is the question, Kim Lang, that you wanted to ask Edmund. Did you want to clarify that? Maybe while you're writing that down. Oh, here we go. The last point, Edmund, can you see that?
The private school is also challenging. It's challenging to collect monthly school fees, even though 50% discount. Online training while school needs to pay salary to teacher. First question I would actually have is, why do people pay so much for private education? Because if you want to collect a lot of money, okay, if you want to collect a lot of money, you have to go over there and make sure that you provide a lot of value. What is the actual value of private schools? Is it the quality of the teachers? Is it the activities that are outside of actual classes? Is that possible? Is it also a possibility that maybe it is about students networking or even parents networking so that it sets them on a good foundation for future, for their future, you know? It is all of these questions that first of all, you need to go ahead and ask, what are the students paying for? Because the parents, if I was a parent, I would go over and say that why should I pay so much? Partly it's because the school is wonderful and I go over and there are all these facilities. During COVID, all these facilities are closed. Why should I bother to pay? Right? If it is about student interaction, if it is about not just what you study in class, but about education as a whole, then what are the different aspects of education that you can go over there and show and demonstrate to the parents that you are still ensuring that the students are getting this and this and this. It is not just reading from a textbook. If it's reading from a textbook, everybody can do it. I can go to Google. I don't even need to go to school, for that matter. You know, Google knows everything. And they even have the cat pictures to go with the whatever it is that I have to learn. So as far as the teachers are concerned, one of the challenges would be that if you are looking at collection of fees, you know, ask yourself, what value are you actually providing to parents? If you can figure that out, then you go over there and say that it is justified because of this. Not just because I have to pay my teachers and therefore you should pay me that much. Yeah? I mean, we go over there and relook at the schools themselves, and then after start breaking down the business to go over and ensure that, if there's one aspect of it that you might want to start looking at, to go and ensure that that this is something by which you emphasize. Yeah. Yeah. So if you are going to go and have a good strategy to maintain the teachers, well, let's be honest. I have had quite also a few friends over here who are teachers, and almost every single one of them have ways by which to go over and say that the school can do better by doing this or that. The curriculum by which we are delivering, it can be improved. Okay, and a lot of times the school go over and say that we have already been teaching this, is what is been very good for us so far, and therefore there's no need to change. Guess what? Now you do. Now you need to go and really look at what makes you different. Yeah. Okay. There you go, Hannah.
The question from Rata Tan: how to identify the customer need of value, customer's value, I guess. Yeah.
Which one? How to identify customer need for value? Ask your customers. Ask them. Speak with your customers. Take a few of your customers that you are a little bit more familiar with. Go out for coffee. Sit them down. Chat with them. What is it that you like or don't like about my service? Ask them. And then after you go over and say that, so if let's say, for example, then after you start asking them, start listening to them, and then have to ask them, what can I do better? And there you go. Fantastic. What's the cost of a cup of coffee? Versus what's the cost of not knowing whether your customer is happy with you? Oh, the cost of a coffee is a lot cheaper. Let me see. Who else?
So Hannah asked a really good question. She is from the HR department, and she said that post-COVID, our staff realized working remotely is possible, yet our company still believes that working in the office is more effective. How do you find the right balance? How should she do the balance both sides, I guess? It's a good question.
Well, first of all, I need to go over and ask your company management, why do they think that working at the office is important?
Exactly.
That's my first question. And if a lot of times, a lot of the companies will actually say that it's more effective. My first question is, why is it more effective? Is it a question of trust? Because my senior management can see me working. And if my management can see me working, then they will work. If you don't trust your employees, don't hire them. If you have to keep an eye out for them all of the time, then you need to really look at how, first of all, management is treating staff. And second of all, what are you hiring for?
So
that's a very deep question.
And here's a follow-up response, which I thought was really interesting. Her management wants our staff to see the values that everyone is working hard. So they value visibility. They need to see the staff. So it's kind of an interesting value, because that questions is, do they trust the staff then? That if they're at home, then maybe. I
will go over and ask this question right now. Like Hannah, I don't know which organization from, but has effectiveness dropped over the last 2 months when staff has been working from home? If yes, then my first deeper question would be why. If no, then why do they need to go back to the office? Yeah? So you're saying that the effectiveness has not really dropped. So maybe the reason why management wants everybody to go back is to make themselves feel good. Then that's a question that I will go over and challenge management. In fact, I realized that working from home, I end up working a lot more hours than if I'm working at the office. If I'm working at the office, 5 o'clock, that's it. Bye, guys, I'm out. Over here, I will stay on my computer and keep working until my work is done. then maybe it is also for your managers and your directors and your senior management to now understand how do you set goals for your staff. How do you manage staff by going over there and setting targets and goals? Maybe they need a refresher course on how to set targets and goals. Does that make sense?
That's a great question. Any more questions, anyone? That was our last question, and I just want to make sure that if anyone else has a question, they can type it in the chat. If not, we will, before we post the link, if there's no more questions, I just want to just hand the meeting over now to Gabriel. Gabriel is the founder and the CEO or managing director, sorry, of the Capacity Specialist, and he just wanted to share a few words. And after he finishes, we will then post the link that you can sign up with Edmund for those 5 one-hour free sessions afterwards. So I will just transfer the call or transfer the webinar now to Gabriel. Thank you so much, Edmund, for just
thank you very much.
And your insights, and we hope that this was helpful. And again, we just want to thank the Capacity Specialists and of course OSCHAM and BritCham for sponsoring this event as part of the Women in Business initiative. So Gabriel, are you there?
Yep.
Sure. There he is.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, okay, great. Thank you, Lisa, and thank you, Edmund. I might just share my screen very briefly.
Yes, take it over.
Okay. So I'm not sure, can you see my screen?
Yeah. Yes, you can.
Showing that? Okay, so I just wanted to say a few words of thanks to Women in Business for collaborating with us. And we appreciate the chance to support some of the Women in Business members in Cambodia. In case some participants are not really clear on what we do or have not heard about us, I'd just like to share very briefly how we add value to our clients. Our focus is on changing behaviour and improving organisational performance. These are results that most organisations want when they invest in their people. And we've been in Cambodia working with organisations since 2010. Our uniqueness is that we guarantee behaviour change, and we guarantee improved organisational results to ensure our clients are satisfied. So if you'd like to learn more about what we can do, what value we can add, please contact us. And thank you for joining. I hope you were able to get some ideas that you can put into practice in your work, and I wish you the best in the current times. Thank you, Lisa.
Okay, great.